Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. We will invest to accelerate our lead in AI by infusing this technology across every layer of the tech stack. So, Nick, that gives me the chills. That's a
This is
quote
Satya
that you
Nadella
reported.
Satya Nadella talking to the world about Microsoft plans and AI.
Exactly.
You're
So
right,
the latest letter, impressive, very, very impressive in the sense that definitely like something groundbreaking that is happening, because they're basically confirm over and over the fact that AI is pervasive and nobody is safe from AI in a good and a bad sense. Microsoft took this like big like statement, which basically tell us that it's already here, it's been here, it's coming even more. So that's where it's gonna go. So AI is there to stay for sure.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to this letter?
Well, the same as yours. I mean, when Satya Nadella from Microsoft says we are injecting AI into every layer of the tech stack, it really means every layer, everywhere. So you're not going to use a computer without having something to do with generative AI, either in Microsoft's favor or in anybody else's favor. Once Microsoft makes that statement, that's probably something that will even more push the market in that direction. You also say something interesting. I mean, if you put it into perspective, I mean, Microsoft made their mistakes here and there, but if you think about it, what he says is interesting. I mean, Microsoft has been one of the protagonists in basically every big platform shift in technology. Personal computing, they were there with DOS and then Windows. The web, I mean, Internet Explorer, we mixed feelings, but still they were there. They probably kind of missed the mobile innovation, but then with Web 2.0, they really made great moves. And then cloud computing, they were there. Azure matured to be a very good platform. And now AI. So they missed a couple, but they got it right every other time. So
now, overall,
about them.
I mean, overall it was a good job in the sense that they missed just a couple out of like 20 major innovation in computing in the past decades.
And still, I mean, they missed mobile, and they're one of the biggest, probably the second or the first biggest company, probably second to Apple now. I didn't check, but biggest tech company in the world. I mean,
super interesting.
Being the
point.
oldest.
Super interesting point. Good perspective.
Very nice.
And the stance they're taking also is like pretty visionary in the sense that, Satya is really pushing the boundaries and showing what's going to happen in the future with the Copilot, basically applied to anything. It's basically, he's seeing the whole picture. And what is interesting is like toward the end of the letter, I thought it was good to kind of mention two very, very, of course, groundbreaking, a little bit, well, not too obvious, but definitely like, you feel them, use cases. One is, the work that also Andrew Karpathy from ex-Tesla, basically saying that GitHub Copilot is writing 80% of the code, which that shifts anything for coder and basically like workflow wise and quality wise. So standards are raising. People need to find other way of coding, other way of thinking about coding, really, and that's the case. And secondly, another pretty impressive one is the use of AI from the India's Ministry of Electronics and IT, where basically, since there is such a variety of languages in India, they're using AI models so that people can actually communicate in their native language directly to the public administration. So a case like closer to him for sure, given probably like, his commitment in being a visionary, and but that's definitely like an impressive use case that, again, here to stay from the coder locked up in the room to the rural area of India. So that's
so the very elite of coding to the very, the furthest away point in the world. I mean, I was smiling because this always reminds me of the Babel fish. Remember? the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So the Babel fish is real. In this case, it's the public administration's version of the Babel fish, but still.
Interesting.
Nice.
Exactly. All right, let's go back to Italy now. Let's talk about a few AI rounds, actually. Very interesting, because last week we saw like two different companies basically working on two very interesting aspects of data related to AI. So basically, as we know, like data is kind of the fuel of AI models. We cannot do anything without data. So the big game is and will be played with big data set and how exactly to use them, manipulate them, do something with them. And the people being able to collect data are really much on the front line of what's going to happen in the future of opportunities. Not only that, but definitely like it's a great step. So talking about Aindo, synthetic data startup raised a 6 million Series A in a round led by United Ventures, and also participated by Vertis SGR, which is an existing investor, through, I believe, their third fund, Vertis Venture 3 Technology Transfer. So let's maybe start talking about synthetic data in general and how this is, has been. We've been talking a little bit of synthetic data in the past year/2 years. Before that, honestly, I didn't have any visibility on that. I don't know how often the topic was brought up, but definitely, again, it's one of the pervasive elements of AI, and this is like a consequence of the pervasiveness of AI.
Yeah. So I mean, synthetic data is not a new concept if you look into the practitioners market, but it's becoming mainstream, right? Because AI is becoming mainstream in terms of usage. So the key problem is obvious. You've got private data. You need private data to, for example, model training, to perform computation on that data. But that data is either, related to some privacy policy rules that do not allow you to use it for research purposes, or the data that you want for your research purposes is somewhere else, and you cannot get access to it. So there are various ways to solve this problem. And one of these ways is to use synthetic data. So basically create new data sets that have the same statistic information as the original one, and that will allow you to train the model in the same way as the data set, without the problems of privacy. And if I may add the point, this is something that is becoming mainstream, not only for this obvious privacy data retention problem, but also because I was reading a research recently that says that basically we are running out of public available data for training models. So now the next big pool of data is the one lying within the walls of enterprises and of corporations. How do you get access to that data? This is one way.
Very interesting. And to build on that, what I find fascinating is the fact that, going a little bit technical, I'm not a technician, but definitely it's definitely, there are a few things fascinating, is how exactly they construct synthetic data. So essentially it's a 3-step process when basically you get the data, you choose a method of basically transforming them into synthetic data. Then there is a validation phase, where basically there is a way to actually check whether the synthetic data generated reflect the characteristic of the original data. And then there is like repetitive iteration. So what is interesting is also that one of the popular way of generating synthetic data is called GANs, GANs, Generative Adversarial Networks, which in a nutshell is basically, applying the technology on itself, which is deep learning models, where there are like two basically neural networks. One is a generator, one is a discriminator, that are trained in tandem. The generator produces synthetic data through different methodologies. The discriminator tries to distinguish whether the outputted data is real or synthetic. And of course, the more you do that, the more you train the model, the closer the new synthetic data are produced, the more they're going to look like the real data. So very, very, interesting and insightful way of generating this data. And this is definitely like something, as you mentioned, that kind of is gonna open the doors to everything that right now is locked up and not available publicly, and in a way that is safe and actually useful without breaking particular rules. I mean, application really range from. Go ahead.
GANs are the basic idea behind image generators. One neural network doesn't know anything about a dog. They will try to draw a dog, and the other neural network knows what a dog is, and will just feed its feedback to the original one. So they will get to the image of a dog by iterating. I will try to draw a dog. I know nothing about dogs. I know what a dog is, and I will tell you this is a dog, this is not a dog. This is the basic idea behind image generation.
Interesting. And I don't know I had a question in terms of synthetic data versus cryptography. It's two different things radically, right? Or is there something like overlapping those elements?
Well, I don't know in a specific case about synthetic data. So there might be some aspects of cryptography involved. But then I don't know. I know that you can approach the problem of managing private data by using some technology coming from cryptography. For example, homomorphic cryptography. Basically, is a way to encrypt an information, but allowing an algorithm to run some inference on the information. So you don't know the data, but you can run an algorithm because the encrypted data has the same characteristics of the original one. So that's
interesting.
That's the homomorphic aspect. So that's another approach to managing the privacy issue with data. So there are many ways you can approach the problem, right?
Let's go back to Aindo and about the round. So what is interesting about the Aindo is really that they are basically building a modular way of thinking about data. So they're basically providing like data service as a service, in the sense that they move from cleaning and structuring data to actually converting them in synthetic data up to the sharing part and the usage of it. So I thought it was a very, very interesting way of thinking about this. Two specific elements I thought were pretty interesting also. The fact of they're also trying to build a community around that. So given access to like community to actually share and work together. So the joint working idea. And then of course the data monetization, where essentially they're offering these synthetic data tools so people can actually monetize their own data in different ways in a safe way. So again, this is also an interesting aspect, which we've probably seen in a couple of different deals, which is the idea of monetizing synthetic data from your own data set as a passive way to generate revenue, essentially. So you get your data, you have your asset, and then you give it out synthetically to actually make money.
Again, I mean, I think there will be a strong demand about this. So it's a sensible play. We are at the very early stages of this type of demand. So the other part, so the demand side, is at the very beginning. So you need to know that you have this opportunity. But as the supply side becomes mainstream, hey, here there's data that you can use, and the data has good characteristics. I expect the market to start exploding, probably from very specific verticals. Advertising, and we have the friends of Fantix here. We will talk about them. Fintech, financial information, and last but not least, probably actually first, health.
Nice.
Real world.
I agree. Good point. For sure. I wonder whether at some point there will be sort of one authority kind of certifying that they have the best synthetic data. Like if I need to pick a data to run my own model about something, then I kind of want to know that I get the best synthetic one. So how it's going to work? It's going to be like a a ranking, a rating, like a Moody's rating equivalent to synthetic data set. So that's maybe that's another issue, you know.
Yeah. Well, remember, we are in Europe. Don't say authority out loud because I mean, they might hear you and start thinking, we can regulate this. Let's create an authority.
Sorry,
Not about quality, but about access. Sorry, I mean, this is a rant, I know. But anyhow, but it might be, I probably don't expect an authority, but I do expect, since data can, at that point will be available, I expect that people will start ranking the quality of data and say, that data set is very good along this axis, that data set, not so much, stuff like that.
I like that, like a crowdsourced
some
way
kind
of ranking data.
Yeah, something like that. You're probably right. A Moody's style, not a private authority style, a public authority style, but like a private operator. That's this is good, this is bad. There might be a potential angle to that.
Like a TripAdvisor.
Before that, we need every company to start publishing data and say, hey, rank me.
Yeah.
Because that's how Moody's work, actually. So
it's gonna take a while. It's probably gonna take a while. Yeah.
Remember, awesome. Moody's ranks is a demand side ranking, not a supply side ranking.
Good point.
Hey, rank me, please.
Awesome. All right, talking about the investor, really quick. So the 6 million, basically, they had like a follow-on by existing investor Vertis SGR, one of the also like pretty like active private equity and venture fund in Italy. Vertis basically has 2 private equity funds active and 5 VC funds total. I think Vertis Venture 3 has a 40 million commitment, vintage 2017, and they're basically working really well in tech transfer, but also AI plays. So that's a nice angle they're taking. Of course, life of the fund is, I think they just finished deployment between this year and last year, and now is really the growth phase of the fund. Second investor, United, of course, another big player in the Italian space, and this signal basically that Italy is really sensitive to these like plays. So I'm bullish on this. So I'm glad there is money flowing in. Awesome. So on the same note, but slightly different, let's talk about Fantix, a New York-based AI model development startup, raising 1.6 million funding. Basically, it's an Italian founder, which basically is based in the US. Different kind of investor: Gangles, Notion Capital, Founders Factory, Fastweb, Connect Venture, YAG, and Be Heroes. It's a nice mix of foreign and Italian investors for actually a product that actually pretty unique. So essentially, he's trying to use what is called a data abstraction, so people can use data that are accessed locally and not shared to run models in the safest possible way. So they call it like a federation, federated learning. That's what they call. So it's pretty interesting. So it's a federation of companies that actually do this kind of process. What is your take on that? Which is like pretty different from what we've seen before when we talk about synthetic data.
It's again, my impression is that solving a similar problem in completely different ways. It's again about access to data. In this case, probably in a more open way. It's a way for companies to share and to monetize the data they have by using a platform that will allow them to open up the possibility to train someone else's models on their data without sharing the data itself. So similar issue, but solved from a different angle than Aindo. So very interesting approach, actually. This is one of those probably one of those solutions to the data access problem where I expect to see a vertical approach, because you want to pool similar data in order to augment the quality, the quantity a bit. How do you say, the attractiveness of the data you have? For example, advertising. So you start pooling advertising companies on the platform in order to augment the quality and quantity of the data that you have, that you can offer to model trainers. And there you are. You have network externalities on your pool of companies, their usage and sharing of data. So very interesting play.
Yeah.
I have to say that Antonio Tomacchio, the founder, is a serial entrepreneur actually. So he's probably his third startup. He has a good experience with fundraising in his previous experience. So he knows the play, and expect to see the company growing fast in the near future.
Interesting. So it seems that actually the difference between also data abstraction and synthetic data really depends on the use case that you're gonna do with that. So from the literature that I've seen, data abstraction basically focusing on kind of providing simplification of data and qualities of data that can actually be usable in some forms, while synthetic data is more generative and volume focused in a way. So maybe there are two fitting use cases that they can actually drive, why to use data abstraction in certain cases while using synthetic data in another case. So maybe it's solving the same problem. I don't want to say in different depth, because maybe that's not the right frame, but definitely for different use case. Maybe that's the best way to talk about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. All right, moving on to changing topics, actually moving to Qapla, another great round that happened last week. Florence-based scaleup that develops solution for e-commerce management raised 5 million in a Series A round. So funding was led by BlackSheep with participation from CDP Venture Capital, the fund Acceleratori, so the Accelerator fund, and Toscana Next. So what is interesting here is that, so I was thinking that actually e-commerce was never really, disrupted radically in the past, 5, 6, 10 years. There was no major groundbreaking disruption. That's my feel from, I'm completely ignorant in matter, but I thought that what the angle that was interesting was actually the kind of incremental specialties that people are developing, being it modules for on top of e-commerce, or something like what these guys are doing, which essentially is mastering the post-sale processing of orders in a way that actually they can be as efficient and as clean as quick as possible. So they're really focused on a very specific problem, and they want to solve it really, really well. So managing, from the printing of labels up to the tracking of the package done seamlessly and easy for people that are working on e-commerce. So that was cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. This one of those instances where you have the major platforms that are basically, they basically position themselves on the market, and then you have a plethora of solutions that improve the experience, enhance and expand the capabilities of those platforms. And Qapla is an example of this, making the life easier to the e-commerce manager, to the e-commerce company, in order to better manage the business. They're doing well, as far as you know, so it's very
awesome.
nice. Very nice deal, very nice round.
Right. On a finishing note, apparently we got the best quarter this year. It was Q3, according to a few research published by Italian Tech Alliance and Growth Capital. So good news up to a certain point, not mind-blowing news, but at least there is some nice movement, like picking up some momentum. What was your take on that, Nick?
Some bright spots, some dark spots. As you said, the quarter was good. Surprisingly good, because we had the third quarter at summer in the middle, but we had pending spools with 100 million funds raised, and that's 100. We are in the condition where 100 million really moves the needle, right? So just one deal, and you've got the best quarter of the year. So the bright spot is we had the 100 million rounds. The dark spot is yes, but what about the rest? The rest is absolutely on average with the rest of the year. That's okay. Series A round are keeping up pace. There are a few international investors joining and leading these rounds, but still there is not much going on, and I hope things will accelerate going forward. We need more international exposure, more international investors starting to look into the market. We've got good companies raising Series A rounds. I'm looking forward to 2024 when these companies will start, talking to the market for their Series A and Series B round going forward.
Are we gonna hit the 1 billion this year?
It depends on how you measure it. On my scale, unlikely, but my scale is very strict. On growth capital scale, that's absolutely fair. I think it's feasible. We need another 100 million round.
I agree.
Otherwise, or 250 million, whatever. A combination of really late stage rounds. Just a couple and will be enough. But we'll see.
Awesome. All right, Nick, thank you for joining. This concludes this week's episode of The Week in Italian Startup. And remember to subscribe to our channel for more exciting news and stories. Thanks for joining us today, and I'll see you next time.